Hello everyone, let's solve another linear equation here. This time we are going to deal with fractions. And to deal with fractions, we usually don't want to do the solving process directly. We usually want to remove the fractions so that our calculation will be easier. So first, the idea is that we try to multiply the whole equation by a number that will cancel out all the denominators so that we do not have fractions anymore. And so that number that we are going to be multiplying is called the LCD. That's the least common denominator. So for the least common denominator for the LCD for all three fractions, it will be what? It will be 6 because we can turn the 3 into a 6, we can turn the 2 into a 6, we can turn the 6, well, the 6 is already in the 6, right? It's already a 6, right? So we do not need to turn it. So the LCD would be 6. Okay, now what do? We are going to multiply each term or each numerator by this LCD here. So first we are going to copy down the whole equation, and then we'll do it like this. So watch carefully. We are going to put down 2 over 3 and then x, right? And then you are going to multiply by 6 right here. That's the LCD that we're multiplying, right? If you do not really want to multiply a fraction by a whole number, you can actually write it as 6 over 1. It's up to you. So sometimes you can also write it as 6 over 1. So this LCD, we always put it in the numerator when we are multiplying it so that it will be easier for you to do the canceling. Okay, so next step. Next step is to write down the negative 1 over 2. Okay, so negative 1 over 2. And then times. Now, again, it's the same number, so we are going to multiply by 6, but you can also just turn the 6 into a fraction, so it would be 6 over 1. Okay, so 6 is actually the same as what? This is the same as 6 over 1, right? We put 1 under it, then we can turn a whole number into a fraction. Now continue doing this on the right hand side of the equation. We have 5 over 6x times now the LCD 6 over 1. Okay, so now we get an equation that looks just worse than before, but it's going to get better once you start doing the canceling. So we know, you know that we can reduce the fractions by dividing top and the bottom by 3 here for this first term. It's really because we have the 6 in the numerator and then we have a 3 in the denominator, then we can reduce this fraction. So the 3 becomes a 1, and then the 6 becomes a 2. Now, what about this one? The second term here, the 2 becomes a 1 because we are dividing top and the bottom by 2. And then the 6 divided by 2, we are going to get a 3. And then here for the term on the right-hand side of the equation, the 6 becomes a 1 because we're dividing by 6. And then when we divide by 6 from the numerator, we also will get 1. So now we are going to get a nicer equation. Let's look at what happens. There are no more denominators. As you can see, the denominators are all just 1 times 1, right? So we are just going to get a 1 in the denominator. That means we don't even need to write them. So for the numerator, we are going to have 2 times x times 2, so that's 4x. And then don't forget the sign, so minus. And then we have 1 times 3, so that's just 3. And then we have 5 times x times 1, so we are just going to get 5x. So again, when you do this operation right here in this first step, there are no more denominators. Okay? So next step is that we want all the terms with the x on one side. How do we do that? Either we can move the 5x over to the left side or we can move the 4x to the right side. It's up to you. So this time, because we already have the non-x term on the left side of the equation, so all we need to do is to move the 4x to the right hand side of the equation, and then we can isolate the x. So we are going to subtract 4x from both sides. And then because we are trying to cancel out the terms so that it will this 4x will disappear. So that's why we have one positive, one negative, so that we can cancel them. And then you are just going to get 0 for that. So for the left side of the equation, we are going to get negative 3. And that's equal to, actually, let me just do it right here. So we have negative 3 on the left side of the equation. And then what about the right hand side? The right hand side is simple. It's 5x minus 4x, so that's just an x. Right? 5 minus 4, so that's 1x, which is just an x. And then usually we are so used to seeing that x is it's on the left side, so we can actually switch the places of this, right? So that's the same thing as x equals negative 3. So that's our final answer. Okay, so that's it for this problem. And thank you for watching. I will see you next time.